Right, this is lesson 1 of the algebra unit in Math 8. Some keywords to start here. The words equation and expression are going to come up quite a bit in this unit. Equations are, or simply they just have an equal sign. So an example of an equation is like 45 minus m equals 2x plus 5. It can have variables or not. As long as it has an equal sign, it's going to be an equation. I'm going to use a different color here for expression. An example of an expression is where you don't have an equal sign. So something like, if you did the Desmos activity, w minus 3d divided by 4. Okay, there's no equal sign in that. It's just an expression. Go. Okay, and a variable, really important, is usually represented by a letter, but not always. It's a symbol. I'll put typically a letter, but not always. Sometimes a Greek letter that represents a value that is not known or a value that can change. That an unknown value or a changing value. So a symbol, typically a letter that represents an unknown or changing value. So in the two examples that we had up here, the variables would be m and x in the first equation, and then in the expression w and d. You won't always have two variables, sometimes just one or sometimes more than two. It depends on the situation. Okay, let's do example 1. It says evaluate the expressions for x equals 20. So they are all three of these are expressions because they don't have any equal signs. And evaluate means to answer, find the value. So we are going to replace x equals 20. We're going to replace the x with 20 in each of these because we are told that that variable has a value of 20. So in the first one, I'm going to write each step on a new line. We have 3 times 20 minus 9. So I've replaced with the 20 with an x. And I've added in a multiplication symbol here just to remind you or show you that when you have 3x, that means 3 multiplied with x. When a letter and a number are written right next to each other, it means multiplication. So 3 times 20, we're going to go in order of operations here. 3 times 20 is 60 minus 9. So this is 51. Okay, let's do the next one. We have 20 over 5 minus 10. I've replaced the x with 20. Now we're going to do the division first, order of operations. So 4 minus 10. So negative 6. And finally here we're going to replace the x with 20. And order of operations, I didn't write it down yet, but maybe I will now. Bed mass. Okay, we do brackets first, then exponents, then division and multiplication, then adding and subtracting, okay? So we are going to do the brackets first, negative 2 times 25, and that's negative 50. All right. Next step here, verify a solution to an equation. So here we have an equation, and my variable here is n. So when I say the solution to an equation, that means it makes the equation sort of true when you plug in that variable. So if I have n equals 44, I'm going to replace the n with 44 and see if the equation's true. So I have 10 equals, I'm going to replace it with a 44 over 4 plus 1. So the point of this lesson is just to kind of get used to all the different types of questions we'll be doing throughout the chapter. So verifying is one important skill here. We're going to have to be able to check if our answers are correct or our solutions are correct. Okay, so I'm going to look at the left-hand side of the equation here. The left-hand side of the equation is just 10. LHS stands for left-hand side. And the right-hand side of the equation is 44 over 4 plus 1. If those are equal to each other, then we know we have the right solution. Okay, so 44 divided by 4 is 11. And 11 plus 1 is 12. These are not the same. 10 is not equal to 12. Left-hand side does not equal right-hand side. So n equals 44 is not a solution. Okay, let's try 36. So we'll have 10 equals 36 over 4 plus 1. So the left-hand side is still 10. The right-hand side this time is 36 over 4 plus 1. That's equal to 9 plus 1, which is 10. This time, 10 equals 10. That is correct. So the left-hand side equals the right-hand side. So n equals 36 is a solution. By a solution, it just means the value of the variable that makes the equation true. Okay, so that's what it means to verify. It just means plug in the value and check to see if the equation works out or not. Okay, and lastly, we're going to solve. So solve means find the value of the variable. So we have a bunch of equations here, 8 of them, and we're going to solve using opposite operations. So there's a magic rule in algebra that says what you do to one side of an equal sign, you have to do to the other. So here for this first one, we have b minus 5 equals 28. So when we're solving an equation, and we do the opposite operation to both sides. So we're subtracting by 5, so we're going to add 5 to both sides. So what that does is keep the equation balanced. So we're going to end up with b equals, because the 5's end up canceling here, negative 5 plus 5 is 0, it's gone. And on the right-hand side, we'll have 32. And that's my answer. B equals 32. We found the missing value. That's what it means to solve. So solve means find the value of the variable. Okay, next one. We have 6 times y equals 30. So my goal is to find out what y is. So we're going to do the opposite of what's happening to y. So right now, y is being multiplied by 6. So we're going to divide both sides of the equation by 6. Multiplying by 6 and then dividing by 6, they cancel out. We just have one y equals 30 divided by 6, which is 5. We've solved the equation. 6 times 5 is 30. Okay, opposite operation here again. We're adding 17, so we're going to subtract 17 from both sides. So you get x equals 73. 90 minus 17 is 73. The 17's end up canceling on the left-hand side. So we've solved for x. Last one here on this row, m divided by negative 4 is 20. So the m is being divided by negative 4, so we're going to do the opposite of that, which is to multiply by negative 4. Because that'll cancel out the negative 4's. 20 times negative 4 is negative 80. That's my final answer. Okay, so that's what it means to solve. It means find out what the value of the variable is. Okay, you can pause the video here and try these ones on your own. There's more negative numbers involved in the second row here, or you can do them with me. First one, a lot of students think that we should add here to both sides, but the negative 2 is being multiplied with the x. So we want to do the opposite of multiplication, which is division. So we want to divide by negative 2 on both sides. So once we divide by negative 2, we get 7. Negative 14 divided by negative 2 is 7. Okay, and then on this one, we are going to multiply by negative 2 because the a is being divided by negative 2. This is the first one where the variable that we were solving for is on the other side. The equation is flipped around. It's the same process. You just want to work with the equation that has the variable on it, the side of the equation that has the variable on it. Okay, here x is being subtracted by 2, so we're going to add 2. So we get 103. And finally, last but not least, here the c is being added by 2, so we're going to subtract 2. Negative 13 minus 2 is negative 15. Here the 2's cancel, and we just have c. Okay, so that's what it means to solve by opposite operations. You always want to do the same operation to both sides of the equation, and you want to use the opposite one that's happening to the variable. Okay, so that's the end of the first lesson.